Well, good afternoon. My friends, we've made incredible progress over the past few weeks. 31 regions have entered stage 3 of reopening, allowing more businesses to open safely and more people to return to work. In the last 24 hours, the vast majority of the public health units are reporting 5 or less cases in their regions. After consulting with the Associate Chief Medical Officer of Health and local medical officers of health, we're announcing today that Toronto and Peel Region can proceed to stage 3 on Friday, July 31st at 12:01 a.m. For businesses and people in these regions, this is great news. It's another massive step forward. My friends, we've made incredible progress. But as we all allow restaurants, bars, and theaters to reopen, we need everyone to stay vigilant. Wear a face covering, practice physical distancing, and wash your hands. And don't, and I repeat, don't have large parties or gatherings. For our friends in Windsor, Essex, we're asking the people there for a little more time and patience. They entered stage 2 a little later than everyone else. So the health officials just need a bit more time to evaluate the numbers there. And I'm confident that we will get Windsor, Essex there very soon. My friends, we are making real progress. Today's numbers are very, very encouraging. The reality is, until we find a vaccine, COVID-19 is here to stay. But today's numbers should give us some hope. We're on the right path, and nowhere is that more progress, more clear than in our long-term care homes. Nearly all of our homes have stabilized. We have completed proactive testing in every home at least twice. And as of June the 18th, family members have been able to reunite with their loved ones. And it's all thanks to our frontline healthcare workers, our personal support workers, and our nurses and doctors who have worked day and night to fight these outbreaks. And I want to thank the families of our residents for their patience and for their sacrifice. It has been a very difficult period, and the losses have been far greater than anyone could imagine. The outbreak highlighted the cracks within the system that has been broken for years. It was a crisis decades in the making. My friends, as I always say, our government didn't create this problem, but I can promise you, we're going to fix it. Because our seniors deserve better. As Premier, I stood at this podium and made a commitment to the residents and families that there would be accountability, that there would be justice for them, that there would be answers. Today, we are delivering on that promise. We're appointing an independent commission to conduct a full-scale investigation into COVID-19 and long-term care. The commission will be led by Associate Chief Justice Frank Morocco, who has practiced law for 33 years and worked on a number of high-profile cases. He'll be supported by Angela Koch, a former OPS executive with 27 years of experience in modernizing and reforming government, and Dr. Jack Kitts, a former president and CEO of the Ottawa Hospital and one of the most respected healthcare CEOs in the entire country. Together, they have decades of experience. They will conduct as many interviews as necessary. They will require records to be produced, and they will summon as many people as they need to until we get down to the bottom of this. No stone will be left unturned because our seniors deserve nothing less, and our government will support that work all the way. I look forward to receiving their report next spring. And we won't stop until every senior across Ontario has access to the care and dignity they deserve. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario.
Well, thank you very much, Don, and good afternoon. Today, the province announced that Toronto can now move to stage 3 of reopening this Friday. This is good news for our residents and for businesses, and only possible because of the commitments that Torontonians have made to keep each other safe. As part of stage 3, as of Friday, Toronto residents are allowed indoor gatherings of up to 50 people and outdoor gatherings of up to 100 people. A number of city facilities and amenities will also reopen in Stage 3, including the city's more than 800 playgrounds and play structures, community and recreation centers, and libraries for all on-site services. I've been looking forward to this day since March. Closing these playgrounds months ago as the pandemic began was based, as all our decisions have been throughout this crisis, on the best public health advice that we had. But these were all tough decisions, this one with playgrounds and a number of others along the way. No mayor or no councillor, nobody wants to close playgrounds. We want to open them if we possibly can so that families can have fun in their communities. That's the whole point of a playground. So it's a relief to know that our public health officials believe that it is now safe to reopen these playgrounds when we move into Stage 3, effective midnight on Friday. City staff have been preparing for these playground openings. They have been out inspecting and readying playgrounds and play structures and will be posting updated signs with public health advice. Playgrounds will reopen on Friday, though some of the signage at the playgrounds will be updated in the following days. Other activities able to resume in Stage 3 with mandatory public health measures in place, including the tougher measures that Council approved this morning, include indoor dine-in service at restaurants, providing all patrons are seated at all times, eating or drinking, and are seated at all times. I know this is an important change for thousands of restaurants across our city who've been hanging on as best they can since they had to close indoor dining. I encourage all restaurants and bars to make sure they are following all of the public health regulations and guidelines. And for example, one of the changes made by the City Council was to take a requirement of sitting down while eating and drinking and extend it to all times except when you are going to the washroom or coming back, coming in and out of the restaurant and paying. Otherwise, seated at all times to prevent the kind of coming together that people could have that could spread the virus. We've made excellent progress on stopping the spread of this virus, COVID-19, and we most certainly do not want to go backwards. So please, open your doors carefully as you open. I'm saying this to businesses and to people as we reopen the city and have the larger gatherings that are allowed and so forth. Let's do it carefully for the sake of people, for the sake of customers, and for the sake of employees. If we do this in the right way, we're hopeful to be able to continue on the restart and move to more and more openings of the city and more activities, and we won't face the setback of a large second wave that requires a return to lockdowns. The businesses and services able to reopen in Stage 3 are crucial to helping our economy recover, provided they follow the rules. I cannot stress enough that all reopenings must take place within the public health measures that are in place and complying with provincial orders and city bylaws, including physical distancing and mandatory masks or face coverings inside. And all of this is set out in detailed guidelines that we've put together for the benefit of all of those who have these businesses, or for that matter, for people or for their customers. We are moving into Stage 3 because we have made progress stopping the spread of COVID-19, and that is thanks to the sacrifices already made by many of the businesses that are now reopening. While the number of new cases has fallen dramatically to the single digits, I cannot stress enough, as you will hear Dr. Davila do as well, that COVID-19 is still here. COVID-19 does not take a summer vacation. This is clear in some areas that have moved to Stage 3 or to Stage 3 type circumstances and are seeing rising case numbers. It is clear in other places where there is division, where there is a lack of cooperation or a lack of personal responsibility or a lack of compliance, or sometimes all of those put together, we see what happens. We must not go there. We just have to keep doing the right thing as we've been doing, uncomfortable, sometimes inconvenient, or sometimes as complicated as that may be. Keep wearing a mask or face covering as often as you possibly can. In anticipation of Stage 3, the mask bylaw does have provisions for eating and drinking indoors and receiving facial services and things like that. And now, after the actions of City Council this morning, in the common areas of apartment buildings and condominiums, people are asked, in fact required, to wear a mask. This is just out of consideration for the people that you are coming and going and seeing in all of these places, including now common areas of apartments and condo buildings. Your mask protects others, and their mask protects you. To help people stay safe, a number of city programs put in place during the pandemic will continue into Stage 3. and that includes expanded patios implemented through the Cafe TO program. They will continue to operate. Active TO, major weekend road closures and quiet streets, will continue to offer people just that little bit of extra space to enjoy the outdoors. The 40 kilometers of additional bike lanes are in the process of being installed. We're well along with that. Parks Play TO is up and running, offering free drop-in and activity-based recreation programs to children at multiple places across the city. Summer in the Six continues for youth 13 and up to give them opportunities to participate in themed activities and things that are very helpful. I trust the doctor's advice, our doctor and the other doctors involved, that we are ready to move into stage 3 on Friday. And I thank the province, including Premier Ford, for listening to our health officials and moving our city and our region forward when they thought it was right to do so, when we thought it was right to do so as well. I thank them for also the constructive, receptive way in which they have considered the differing needs of our city, including some of the measures that will affect bars and restaurants as they reopen. I'm very proud of the work that city staff are continuing to do as we continue to respond to the pandemic and make sure all of our residents, especially the most vulnerable ones, have the services and supports that they need. This work, along with the cooperation and support of every resident, has helped us to continue to get through this pandemic. And while we still have a long way to go, we are moving towards a better place, finding a way to return more and more to the lives that we knew before this crisis began. The hard work, though, really begins now. It's the same way with any achievement. It's one thing to get to a better place. It's another thing to stay there. If anything, more discipline, more consideration for public health, more compliance than ever with guidelines and rules and recommendations are needed if we're going to keep people healthy and if we're going to keep moving forward together. Finally, for today, I'm pleased to provide a positive update on a very important city service that impacts many families across the city. Over the past few weeks, as we have started to reopen city services and amenities, I've been hearing from many parents that are eager and anxious so as to get their children back into childcare so that they can get back to work, and they're just anxious to know what's going on. These past few months have taught us the importance of good access to good childcare. I'm happy to announce that the city is reopening an additional 10 of its directly operated childcare centres over the coming days. 2 were reopened last week, while the rest will open by next Tuesday. The phased-in approach follows provincial regulations and mirrors the cautious approach that we are taking with the reopening of all of our city services and amenities so as to keep people safe and healthy. We know we need to do this right, and we need to focus on the health and safety of our residents, especially our children. We must also balance this important priority with getting our city's economy back on its feet. You can't fully and effectively reopen the economy without reopening childcare. City staff have conducted an assessment of current Toronto early learning and childcare service centres to determine which sites can be reopened with the new guidelines in place. There is much more to say and do in this entire area of children, childcare, and education, and we will continue to work on those issues on our own and with the other governments, because these things, including the return to school, are vitally important to all the people of the City of Toronto. I want to thank staff for bringing us to this point and for allowing us to be able to open these centres quickly and safely. This news will be most welcomed by families who are eager to have these centres open once again. It's now time